Hello everybody, this is Goose Fox coming at you with a 600 cost rated match in the buffed RF Gouf. We're going to be on City Ruins for this round here, and the RF Gouf was buffed as part of the June 2026 unit adjustments. This is going to be a bit of an older adjustment here since we did recently receive the July list as part of GBO2's 8th anniversary, but I wanted to come back to the June list here to talk about the RF Gouf because, well, for starters, I am the Goofsome Fox, so I do gotta talk about the Gouf variants on this channel whenever I can, but the RF Gouf is also one of those suits that I really love in this game despite having a bit of a rough history with it, because when the RF Gouf first came out, I believe I was stuck in a penalty level 2, so it made trying to get matches in this suit kind of a hassle. It was one of those moments where you're really trying to get out of a penalty, but GBO2 does not want to let you go at all. So definitely a bit stressful during that period, but once I got past that penalty and I was able to start using the RF Gouf regularly, this was a suit that I quickly fell in love with a large part of that stemming from how the RF Gouf was implemented into GBO2, being this high-cost late model interpretation of the Gouf design that uses a lot of elements from the pre-existing Goufs that we already have in GBO2. And for a long time, the suit did feel like a really good raid to use in 600 and even later into 650 when they added the level 2 version. I do remember having some really fun rounds with this suit. And overall, the RF Gouf is just a really nice culmination of the Goufs that came before it, which, given that this is a Gouf variant that is meant to be used much later in the UC timeline, does feel really fitting that it would have a lot of the moves from those prior Goufs that we've already had in GBO2. Really just makes for a nice high-cost Gouf that has all the bells and whistles that you could really ask for from a Gouf variant. Unfortunately, the suit was falling behind and it did need an adjustment. One of the benefits we have of looking at the adjustment after the release of the July list here is that we do also have the post-adjustment data, which is something I will briefly get into in this video here, but we will start by going over what they changed about the RF Gouf here. To start things off, the RF Gouf is a raid-type mobile suit, native to cost 600, and it goes up to cost 650 at level 2. And looking at the changes here, for the unit specs, the unit HP has been enhanced from 23,000 to 25,000, with upper levels also being enhanced. And for the level 2 version of the unit, the skill maneuver armor level 3 has been adjusted to level 4. For the main range weapon, the RF Gouf 5-barrel machine gun, the stagger accumulation value for this weapon has been enhanced, making it easier to cause stagger to the opponent while hitting with this weapon. For the main melee weapon, the RF Gouf beam sword, the cooldown time for this weapon has been shortened from 2.5 seconds to 2 seconds. For the sub-weapon, the RF Gouf head-mounted Vulcan ×4, the reload for this weapon has been shortened from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. And for the sub-weapon, the RF Gouf beam launcher, the heat rate consumption for this weapon has been reduced from 45% to 33%, and the number of projectiles has been increased. Where prior to the buff, the launcher would fire 2 beams, and after the buff, it now fires 3 beams. And that is going to be everything we have here for the adjustment data for the RF Gouf. For the most part, I do like what they changed about this unit, but to really get into the details of what I think about the adjustments, I have to look at this suit at its individual cost. Starting with its native cost of 600, I do feel like the adjustment was really beneficial for this unit. At 600, I've gotten some really good matches with the RF Gouf, and it does feel like it can compete relatively well with most of the suits that are available at this cost. So for 600, I really don't have any complaints for the RF Gouf here. It does feel like a viable raid unit, and I think that does reflect in the reference data that has been provided, where prior to the adjustment, the RF Gouf was struggling at 600, and with the post-adjustment data, it is doing a lot better. 650, however, is a different story, and as much as it pains me to say this, I think the adjustment failed to really help out the level 2 version of the RF Gouf. From my own experience using this suit at 650 post-buff, it has felt like way more of a struggle compared to using the suit at 600, where I'm really trying to push the RF Gouf at 650, trying to make the most use of all of its weapons, all of its kit, trying to do as much as I possibly can do with it, and despite how much I'm trying to push this unit, I really don't feel like I'm doing a whole lot. With the matches I've gotten at 650, even if my team is doing really good and we are winning, I'll usually be like the lowest on the scoreboard at the end of a round. So at 650, I do feel like they could have done a lot more with the suit other than just giving it maneuver armor level 4. Something I noticed reading over the reference data for the level 2 RF Gouf is that in the post-adjustment data, its damage dealt is still less than that compared to the ray type average for 650, so maybe if they found a way to improve the damage dealt by the level 2 RF Gouf, that could be a step in the right direction at making it perform better, especially since, as I mentioned, it really feels like at 650 you have to put a lot of effort into the RF Gouf in order to get damage off, and it doesn't really feel like it's that rewarding for what you have to put into the unit. So I think some improved damage could be a really good start after the June adjustment here, and really making the level 2 RF Gouf feel like a viable unit. As it stands currently, 650 just has a lot of really good raids that easily overshadow the RF Gouf, and this is a unit that I would really like to see them come back to in a future adjustment. They do mention on the website that for mobile suits that are performing under the expectation, they will consider going back and looking at them, and for the 650 RF Gouf, they do mention that it is performing slightly under their expectations, so there is a chance that maybe they'll look at the RF Gouf again. It might be a while though, since the level 1 version is performing within expectation, so not really sure when we might see another buff for the RF Gouf here, but for level 2, I definitely feel like it needs a bit more. But for 600, I do really think the adjustment was really nice. It gets 2 big thumbs up for me there. It's just, again, that level 2 version, I think they could have done more with the unit to really help improve it. And really, that's overall what I think about the adjustment for the RF Gouf here. 600 feels really good, and 650 could use an improvement. Really, the biggest thing I would like to see get added to the RF Gouf, and I am disappointed that it was not in this update here, is the ability for the RF Gouf to be space compatible. In some games, the RF Gouf can be used in space, the most recent example being G Generation Eternal, where in that game it is a perfectly space-compatible unit. And I had heard about the RF Gouf prior to it getting added to GBO2 and that it was space-compatible in some media, so it did have me very excited, like, oh, maybe we'll have our first space-compatible Gouf, which is something I don't think we really have in Gundam media. As far as I know, there's not really a Rick Gouf or anything, unless there's some, like, obscure Gouf that can be used in space, but as far as I know, pretty much every Gouf that has ever existed has been a ground-only mobile suit, so I thought it'd be really cool to have one usable in space. Unfortunately, with the RF Gouf, when it came to GBO2, it was ground-only. I was very disappointed in that, so I would like to see this suit get added to space. Keep the benefits of using it on ground so it has more incentive to be used on ground maps, but having the ability to use it in space I think would be a really nice addition. Really just give it the skills that it needs in order to perform in space properly. And yeah, that's something I would really like to see for the RF Gouf should they buff the suit again, because finally having a space-compatible Gouf would just be one of the coolest things ever. But that is going to be timeout mission over. Let's see how we did in this 600 cost match with the buffed RF Gouf. That is going to be a mission complete. Got some good works in the side chat there. Let's see how we did for this round here. Didn't end up on the board, but we did beat our rival. And third place overall with 5 kills and 3 loss, so not too bad of a match there in the buffed RF Gouf, and that is going to be everything for the round there, and really most of what I have to say for the RF Gouf as well. Really aside from the 650 just needing some more to make it better than where it currently is, I think the suit is really good for 600, and it does feel like a really good raid unit. I am kind of on the fence if I like the RF Gouf more, or the recently buffed Zulu EH. That was buffed as part of the July update, and I've been having a lot of fun with that suit. I do want to talk about that one in a future video. But for the Gouf here, do like the adjustments they did for its native costs. It's just, again, I would really like to see the suit become space compatible if they do buff this unit again. But that is going to be everything I have for this video here. Comment down below what you think about the buffed